On today's episode, I have up-and-coming actress Samantha Weller, who's going to talk about her upcoming film, Psychopomp, and hopefully we'll find out some other inside scoop on what's happening with her very happening career. So welcome to the show, Samantha.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you bet. And when I say up-and-coming, I'm looking at your IMDb, and you've been in, I think, almost a dozen films in the past year.
Yeah, I think in total, including one documentary and 2 commercials, I've been in around 20 film and TV productions.
Well, that's very impressive. We're going to definitely concentrate on your upcoming Psychopomp, but, I was reading another interview with you, and you were talking about how, you thought, even though you're very young and in your 20s, that, maybe you're starting a little later in your career than someone else, but it sounds like you're making it for a lost time, that you kind of hit the ground running and you're really pursuing this.
Yeah, I really feel like I just dived right in the industry. And, when I first got into acting and I decided that I wanted to pursue it professionally, as you said before, I'm in my 20s and I wasn't sure how much of a chance I had at making it because I thought, I had to start a little bit earlier in life. But I really just put my heart into this, and I'm so passionate about it. And I'm really grateful that I've gotten so many wonderful opportunities in just a year of acting.
Well, I'm guessing by some of the titles that you've done, I guess when we want to call horror classy, we call it psychological thriller.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I love horror, so, I love the whole spectrum from, supernatural monster horror to, the psychological suspense.
Totally.
Do you like being thought of as like a scream queen and specializing in horror films?
I don't really mind it because I've always been a huge fan of horror films, especially the classic ones. Like some of my favorite classic horror movies are, Alfred Hitchcock, such as Psycho and The Birds, and I especially love psychological thrillers. And I don't think I'm an actress that only specializes in horror. I love doing all kinds of things like comedy, romance, horror, drama, but I do love horror. That's what stood out to me about Psychopomp was that it was a psychological thriller.
Okay, and in that film, your character's name is Birdie. Give us a brief rundown. Who is Birdie, and how do you get caught up in all the intrigue in Psychopomp?
Okay, yeah, definitely. That's an excellent question. Birdie is by far one of my favorite characters that I've ever played as an actress, and she's really interesting because I would describe her as kind of a little bit down to earth, very open type of person. And what's very interesting and unique about her is that she grew up talking to birds and trying to literally talk to them when she was a kid, hence the name Birdie. And she's just a very, very unique and fascinating character.
Now, where did that really interesting title, Psychopomp, actually come from?
So it actually comes from Greek mythology, and it's basically like a path to hell. And so it kind of, in this movie, the main character, if you look at the description on IMDb, Archie is kind of piecing together parts of his life and kind of following this path, and he encounters a lot of enemies, or in the movie they're called psychopomps. So I think that's kind of where it comes into the story.
Okay, so I was reading, they're almost comparing a psychopomp to like the Grim Reaper, or someone who guides you to the afterlife.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really fascinating because, in the movie, Archie encounters a lot of villains and all kinds of characters like that. So I think I really like that about the title, is that it really ties in with the whole entire storyline and plot and everything.
Well, I think people are really going to take notice of the title. It really, just grabs you. It's like, what's a psychopomp?
It does, yeah.
So
yeah,
your
exactly.
writer and director. Yeah, I was going to say, and also the director and writer is the same person?
Yeah, that's correct. Arthur Reyes, and I believe that he said that he's been working on the script of Psychopomp for about 10 years, which I thought was really neat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering, especially, on an independent film, a smaller set, smaller cast, you really get a chance, I think, to talk more to the director, and when he's the writer, even better. I mean, what are, the pluses of working on a smaller indie set when you can maybe get more in-depth in your conversations?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think working on a smaller set allows you to meet everyone and get to know them a little bit more individually as a person. And, on the set, it was really amazing meeting all kinds of people because there were a lot of characters in this movie, very unique characters in Psychopomp. And, I really got to know my co-stars very well as people, and they're all so great. I absolutely loved working with them, and I think being able to do that, especially when you're working together with people like every single day for like a month, I think it's very great to be able to get to know them in that way and kind of get to know who they are, especially if they're playing like a villain and, you want to get to know who they are in real life. And I think it was pretty cool to also talk to the director about, his vision of the movie and his vision of my character and just get like more insight about where he's going with certain scenes and lines and whatnot.
Well, one of your co-stars is Maria Olsen, and when I heard that she was in, I go, wow, she's kind of like you. She's constantly working, but I remember her from a couple of years ago. Did you see her movie, Starry Eyes?
I think I did see part of that, yeah.
Because that talks so much about Hollywood and kind of the underbelly of, when sinister things happen. So I'm kind of wondering, when you got to talk to her, I mean, did she have some advice, not just about being in horror films, but also, just about navigating through Hollywood?
Yeah, I did. I remember I met her on set, and she's such a fascinating person. She's been acting since she was a little girl, which I thought was just amazing. And she gave me some great advice about just really staying true to yourself and really go for it if you feel like it's the right opportunity. Never stop at doing what you love. And she told me that she looked at the script and she thought that I had a very cool role. And I thought hearing that from her was just really, really cool. So she was really great to work with.
Now, where did you shoot Psychopomp?
So Psychopomp was filmed primarily around Stockton, and it was also filmed in certain parts of Sacramento. And I believe they also filmed around some other areas right before I went on set, but it was mainly around Stockton. And this one location was actually right north of San Francisco called Point Reyes. It's like a little beach, and so kind of around that general area of California.
Well, it's interesting when you go to a town and kind of like a film descends upon the locals, cast and crew enter the town.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, was there a little buzz when you guys were just hitting town and downtown and all the, businesses knew you were there?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool, and I believe that before they started filming, they were on some channel on TV talking about how they were going to have a movie in Stockton because, Stockton isn't exactly a big, film market. It could, start to turn into that after Psychopomp. So, I think it might create more opportunities for actors and creative people around that area. But I definitely think it was very neat that it kind of opened up this new door for people around, that area. And I think my co-star in the movie, Brett Corey, he was from a very small town called, Yuba City that I've never heard of. And him and, so I think some other actors were from there that were in the movie. So I think it was really neat that, it was filmed in a place like that, but it might kind of open up a door to new opportunities and possibilities for, other films to take place there.
Well, it seems like this was kind of back-to-back. The movie you did before this, Path of the Beast, it seems like that was another location shoot, and that, I think this, from the trailer I saw, looked like a Bigfoot movie.
It is a Bigfoot movie, yeah, and I actually did that, I think, about a month after I wrapped Psychopomp, and that was actually filmed around my area on the East Coast. It was filmed in Virginia, and I had a supporting role, and I think I was shooting for it was like a whole day of shooting, and I think that movie is actually set to come out pretty soon this year, so I'm really looking forward to that.
That must be nice to be at the point where you're doing so much work while you're waiting for one to be edited, a new one's coming out.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd actually love to talk about that too because, after Psychopomp, I had a lot of friends that were like, wow, like I bet you really want to take a break after Psychopomp. And I'm not going to lie, I was a bit tired. I was a lot, I really went like all out for my character. But when I got back, I'm just so passionate about acting that I wanted to keep on doing all these kind of opportunities. And I did buy in Pass for the Beast. I did a local commercial. I did like another short film, and then I have, I got a supporting role in an upcoming feature film next year. So yeah, I didn't want to stop. I just came back, and I was like, I still want to do all this acting, even though I just did a huge movie. So.
Well, it sounds like you're jumping on the opportunities when they come up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now you mentioned back east, so you've since coming, out to California to shoot. I mean, have you taken the plunge and moved to California so you'd be closer to more roles?
Not yet, but I feel like I am getting very close to being able to do that. And my entire life, actually, it's been my dream to move to California because I have a lot of family that lives in California, kind of all over the state. And so I've been to California my entire life, ever since I was a little girl. And I was always like, I want to move to California. And then now that I'm an actor, it's like, oh, that's like, a great opportunity to move there for my career. So it all works out. And I'm hoping that at some point I'll be able to move there in maybe like a year or a couple of years, hopefully.
That's always a big decision because it's sort of like saying you're leaving the security behind and you're jumping into something that's a little bit. Yeah, so how do, the other actors you've talked to that are based in California, like what kind of tips have you heard from them to make that transition?
Oh, that's a great question. So I do know a lot of actors around my area. I'm kind of around the DC area, and I know a lot of people here. They prefer to stay local. Some people are kind of more like they like to live in the country. So there's some people I know that are actors, and they live in kind of like on the outskirts of Baltimore or the outskirts of DC, and they just kind of prefer that lifestyle. And I guess like the cheap cost of living, and they're good. That's just kind of like their lifestyle, I guess. And I think a lot of people, though, they say like stay local until you get that one big opportunity that will like enable you that makes sense for you to move like across the country.
Well, it's good you have family and friends there because I hear a lot of actors start out couch surfing their way for the first few months.
Yeah, and I actually have also heard that sometimes people they kind of move a little bit sooner than they should. And I'm willing to be very, very patient, kind of go wherever life takes me. And I'm sure eventually at some point I'll be able to move to California. But for now, I'm just going to be patient and everything and just wait for the chance to move there. And then who knows, like maybe one day I might get the chance to move to New York before going to California, because I have also heard of people moving to places such as Atlanta or New York before they make that big move to Los Angeles or something.
Well, another quote I read from an article you did was, you said, you get to a point where you don't just take anything for the experience, but you're being more selective now with your acting choices.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think every single thing that you do, it's not even auditioning, is like, your time, your energy. Like, ever since getting into acting, I realized how valuable my time is. And, I used to do all kinds of things, but now I'm focusing on more of the right roles or more of the right opportunities, because, I could do like every single little tiny opportunity, but, sometimes it is like a lot to travel for just like a short film or something. So I guess I'm just kind of being more selective about what opportunities are best for me and best for my career.
Well, out of all the roles you've had so far, what's the one that you've been most recognized for?
I would say definitely so far two things, actually. I would say first is Psychopomp. I have had some people who reach out to me after watching the trailer of Psychopomp, and they're like, I just saw this trailer. Was that you? And I'm like, yeah, that was me with that crazy bathroom scene. And the other that I've been recognized for is a short film called Cardinal. And that short film was actually in Virginia, and it actually won an award for the best short film in Virginia at the Genre Blast Film Festival, and I think it actually went all the way over to a film festival around Hollywood called the Hollywood Blood Film Festival or something, and it got nominated for like the best. I believe it was like the best sound, but I didn't realize that something like that would go all the way over to California from Virginia, and I thought it was so amazing that it won that award. I had a lot of people from, you know, all over, like California, even like Arizona, reached out to me, and they're like, hey, I saw you in the short film. You did a great job. And I'm like, wow, like, you saw that? You're all the way over there, you know? So I thought that was very neat.
Well, what's it like when you put in all this work, and it's hard work, and
yeah, oh, yeah.
no one,
yeah.
you know, showing up long days, and then no one notices.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like when you finally get some recognition?
I think it's absolutely incredible. And I remember, actually, I'm just now remembering, when I was on the set of this short film that I just mentioned called Cardinal, I was actually in this, I did this, like, teaser trailer for this indie horror film called The Devil's Den, and someone actually recognized me from that trailer on the set of Cardinal, and they actually wanted to get a picture with me, and then they were asking me, like, oh my gosh, like, how did you start as an actor? What's your next project? I can't wait to see you in this project. They were looking at my IMDb, and they were like, you know, this looks really cool. And it just made me feel like, oh my gosh, like, people are recognizing me. Like, it felt like it was amazing, because I think one of the things I love about being an actor is being able to inspire people and, you know, pull in an audience. And I think, you know, that worked for him. Like, he noticed me, and it stood out to him and everything. So I thought that was just really incredible to be recognized like that.
Nice. Well, you know, one of the weirdest thing about being an actor is that you have to constantly audition. You know, it's like you're on a new job interview for every role.
Yeah, it really is.
And they're so different. I mean, some it's like, hi, hello, do a 1-minute monologue, you're out, you don't get any feedback.
Yeah.
Other times, oh, do you want to read the script?
Yeah.
They spend a half hour. Sometimes it's over the phone. Sometimes you send them a videotape, you know, audition. So what's been to you like actually the most interesting audition where you've gone in and it just feels like, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to get this part?
I guess I could say that. Do you mean to say a time where I went in for an audition and I did get the part, or I just had like a really good feeling about it?
Probably where you had the really good feeling, but then didn't get the part.
Oh yeah, so I actually auditioned, I think about a month ago, for a villain role for this web series around my area, and I felt pretty confident about it. I haven't played many villain roles at all before, but I really did work on getting into character, and I went over all the lines, and I was doing all this research about the overall theme that the director was going for in his web series, and I really felt like I nailed it. But I think they just kind of they maybe envisioned someone else for the role, and that's okay. Like, I think, you know, rejection is redirection, and I think even having the chance to do an audition is incredible, because it's the chance for, you know, an actor to try out another, you know, a different character, different emotions. And I think you learn something every audition that you do. But I did think that I was going to get the role, but they went a different direction, and that's okay.
So do you have a technique, like if you audition and don't get the role, like do you give yourself a day to kind of lick your wounds and say, oh, darn it? Or do you spring back real fast? I mean, what emotions do you go through when you don't get the audition?
I think I spring back pretty fast, and I just accept that, you know, like sometimes there are things that are out of your control, like maybe they wanted someone that was taller or shorter, or they just wanted someone with different color hair, and, you know, it's their project, and they have a certain vision, and, you know, it doesn't mean that they might consider you for another project in the future, but I'm still always thankful for the opportunity to even audition, so I'd say I got back pretty fast.
And when you do get the part, how do you celebrate?
I get really excited. Like, I definitely have this moment. I'm like, yes, and then like I usually just immediately start trying to get into character and, like, you know, researching the character and everything. But I definitely get very excited because it's just another accomplishment. And usually, you know, lately I got the supporting role in an upcoming feature film called The Mantle, and it's a very different character because it's a villain character, and I've never played that before. So I felt like that was a great new addition to my overall career because it's going to be the opportunity to portray a completely different character, different kind of emotions, and like I just think it's so exciting to be able to do that. So I definitely I'm really happy whenever I get a new role and everything.
Well, I just have one more audition question since you're answering these so good, and I love that insight
Thank you.
too, because I think for people who, appreciate indie films but really don't know about, how they get made, one thing that's so fascinating is when you're like a low-budget, say, director, producer, they always hold auditions in the strangest places. Like, they don't, rent anything. They'll use a room in a library or borrow someone's living room or whatever. So what's just, the weirdest place you've ever had to audition?
I would say the audition that I just talked about that I did a month ago, I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but it was this studio-looking thing in D.C., and it was in this town in D.C. that I didn't even know existed, and it was near a pizza shop, and it was the most random array of shops together, and it was just up these stairs in a building that was it looked like it could have been at one point an art building because there were a lot of art paintings, but there were no art class here or anything. I could not tell what it was, but it was almost like a combination of an art studio and a dance studio, and almost looked like it could have at one point been a thrift store. I couldn't tell what it was, but it was a very random location. But I guess it kind of made sense because they had a very big open room for the auditions, and they had a nice lounge area and stuff.
So kind of does that balance, when you finally get a red carpet moment, kind of balances out kind of all the meager, kind of where the heck am I kind of moments?
I think so, yeah. You could definitely say that.
Well, we're going to wrap up in a little bit. We got a few more questions, but before we do, I want to make sure for the people hearing that they know where they can find you online, like your website, and also the best way they can kind of keep tabs on you until Psychopomp and your other movies come out.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually just launched my new website, and it's www.samanthapearlweller.com. My middle name is spelled pearl in an oyster, and my last name is spelled Weller. And I would say that they can also follow me on Instagram. My official Instagram handle is SamanthaPearl_official.
Excellent. Yeah, I've gone there, and there's lots of links, and, I think for most people nowadays, they kind of study IMDb and when it goes from post-production to release and all that. So I'm going to look on Psychopomp, and when it goes from that red post-production sign to the release, do you know where that's going to go? Will it go to Amazon Prime, or what are the plans for that?
They are definitely trying to distribute it and get it on some very large platforms. I'm not sure if I can talk a lot about it, but they are trying to get it on many very well-known platforms as far as I know. And they are trying to get it in theaters as well, across the nation if they can.
Oh, excellent. And nowadays, besides the producers and directors promoting it, obviously people always want to hear from the actors. They're the fun part of it. So I'm wondering, besides interviews like this, do you have any other, promotional plans to maybe do more interviews or make appearances to support the film?
Oh, absolutely. I know that they have a lot of very fun marketing campaigns planned before the first release of the movie, and I am going to all the premieres next year, so I think they're going to have more than one around California, and I'm really, really excited for the release of the movie.
Have you done much of the conventions, either the Comic-Cons or the horror conventions?
I've never been huge into them, but I did recently this year, I believe in May, I went to a Stranger Things con, and I absolutely love Stranger Things, and my friends I was in New York that weekend, and then my friends from LA were there that weekend, and they told me about the Stranger Things con. I'd never really been to one, but I thought it was really fun. I actually, after that, I want to go to a lot more because the Stranger Things con is, like, amazing.
Yeah, because I could really see the conventions wanting to, either play it, because a lot of the conventions have film festivals along with it, but it seems like those fans would really, be into this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that there are a lot of cons around my area, around D.C. I think there was King Con earlier this October. So I do want to go to some more, probably some horror ones as well.
Excellent. Well, you have a blast. Well, hey, you've been telling us from, your point of view. Now, the writer-director, could you remind me of the name again?
Arthur Reyes.
Arthur Reyes. So, you talked about, he's got a vision for it. So if he had a chance to kind of say in a nutshell, what his hopes are for this, or what he was trying to say, what do you think he would share with us?
I think he would probably say that he really wants to create a super unique and original piece, classic horror, psychological thriller, and really create something that's just so different than anything that's ever been done before, because I really do think, like, with his vision and his abilities and his creativity, that's the direction that he's going with this film, because it really is, like, it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen before. Every character, every scene, every, like, plot piece is just so, like, it's just so interesting, and I think that's the direction that he's going for.
So I know so much, like, especially, the auteur, the writer-director who spends years, it sounds like he's really been planning this, and, it's his baby. He's really put everything into it. But sometimes it's
that's
like,
a good way to put it, yeah.
But sometimes it feels like you're doing it in a vacuum, and it's like you're wondering, will anyone notice? Does anyone care? If you had a chance to give him a shout-out, what would be your best compliment to how you've seen him making this film? What are the strengths you've seen that he's brought to this production?
I would say he definitely seems extremely dedicated, really, really passionate. I saw him, every day on set for a month, and he was just, he would get to set, and he looked like he was just, the whole day, he was just thinking about how the scene is going to play, what's supposed to happen. I think he was also very good at communicating with me and my co-star, which was very important. Making sure that we understood everything about the scene and his vision. And so I think great communication, very passionate, very dedicated person that's not afraid to kind of really express his mind. And he actually also does these really cool drawings on his Instagram. Arthur Reyes 1 on Instagram, and he does some very cool paintings. So he's a very creative person. He's not afraid to express all that. Even if it's like a completely like wild idea,
Excellent. Well, we've got about 30 seconds left, so I'm going to wrap it up with, if you had the chance to work with your dream Hollywood director, who would it be?
Oh man, that's really hard because there's so many out there that I would love to work with. I would definitely say actually probably like Stephen King, because his movies I think are just like really draw me in. I think he's just an absolute genius. I've read like so many of his books, and I would say like maybe him or Michael Bay. That's pretty tough because there's a lot of directors out there, but I think almost every single one I'm just such a big fan of, especially those two.
Well, it's good to dream, and I think if you put it out there, you get yourself that much closer to working on the projects and the people that you want to. So her name is Samantha Weller, and I've enjoyed talking to her. And Samantha, I really wish you a lot of success, not just with Psychopomp, but with the rest of your career. So I'm going to keep an eye on you.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for having me today.